Today we have none other than Tommy Green, a 3-time guest now on the Black Sheep podcast. You might as well just like take over my spot. You know, I've been looking for a new co-host for a while, so either take over my spot or you can replace Cullen. But at this point, you're a seasoned veteran, Tommy.
Thank you. Well, you know, I don't want to do that, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's your spot, homie. That's your spot. I'm good. You just do you.
So there is a million things that we want to talk about. You know, you've got your wife's got a book coming out. There's a whole movie thing going on that I'm really interested in. But more than anything, you've got a brand new album now, a full-length album. This has got to be what, the first Tommy Green full-length album in like how many years now? Like 8 years, something like that.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Yeah, like you know, since SG, I'm trying to think. I think that came out in 2017, so 6 years.
Yeah,
like
yeah, okay, yeah, 6 years. My goodness, it's been some time, and you know, everybody has been waiting for it, Tommy. Everybody's been waiting.
I doubt that. I doubt it.
Full length.
I kept waiting for like, dude, we've been in this weird, and I'm saying like I feel like we've been in this weird dead zone for a while, where like there's a lot of people that have made like these big transitions in their faith journey, and people have bounced, and I'm like, yo, where are like the young, like Christian hardcore kids that are ready to like bang that drum, and they're just like not doing, and I'm like, oh my God. So now I feel like I'm like back at it going, I thought there was gonna be more of us right now, so it's no big deal. Anyway, so yeah, it's been wild. I doubt that everyone's been waiting for it, but it was one of those things that just ended up happening. Honestly, it's been a real happy accident.
Well, you are a man of humility, because I know many people, including myself and Mason, who've been extremely excited for this. And you didn't disappoint, man. I mean, obviously, like we heard some like the early stuff, almost 2 years ago now, right?
It was just me and Joe, my writing partner. We just
Speaking of which, shout out to Joey. That man is
the bomb. He's the bomb. I'm telling you.
He's one of my favorite people. We're gonna have him on by himself.
You should, honestly. He just works. He's such like a solid dude. He's just a warehouse manager and a dad, and so he's at work right now, or he would probably just be on with me. But he's just doing normal grown man stuff. So that's like how that works.
And he's from the right part of the country. We're talking the upper plains, the upper Midwest, Marshall, Minnesota, right?
Marshall, Minnesota. The frozen tundra. That is Marshall, Minnesota.
That's right.
Anyways, he's doing good. Right. But yeah, he's absolutely incredible. And to be honest, like, you know, we just ended up working out really well together. And but this wouldn't have happened. None of this would have happened without him. So big shout out Joe Holt. He's incredible.
Yes.
The best. So
I agree. So this album is sounding amazing. The first thing that struck me from the recordings we heard earlier to the recordings that we have now, wow! Like, first of all, way bigger production than I thought we were gonna get. Right?
Oh. Like, well, I guess. I mean, what did you think? What were you thinking?
This sounds like a AAA record, man. Like,
cool.
Like. It sounds like it was recorded with like $300,000. I mean, I'm just blown away at how good it sounds.
It was recorded with like threes of dollars.
That's Joe essentially engineering a whole bunch of stuff before we got it to Ryan LaTrue, and then Ryan being able to work his magic with Joe. Like, a lot of really cool people, like good people that knew what they were doing stuff. So I hope it holds up. There's some records that sonically seem to hold up for some years, and when you hear them, you're like, that still sounds good. And I hope that this one does that. I hope so.
I think without a doubt it will.
This SG albums always did really well. Like I always thought, especially some of those later releases, you guys always sounded really, really well produced. I don't know who was behind all of that, but that was, I mean, you're clearly taking that forward into HolyName.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, that's a long time to like gain relationships and like understanding and stuff. And so Finished People, to me, forever, like sonically, Finished People is my favorite. And that is Andrew Glover, my dear friend, who was playing bass for us at that time from Winds of Plague and ran the Sound Temple in Southern California, and like just was doing a bunch of stuff. We just saw him in Chicago, and he was talking about, you know, his tricks of the trade when he's mastering records and stuff like that. So I just loved it. And then Ryan LaTrue, I got to work with, and we met on the I Am project. So that's where me and Ryan just kind of, we got like a week and a half, 2 weeks together doing the tracking, and that's kind of where we had kind of a light like friendship. We got to kind of just hang out in a different context. And so when we started doing this stuff, I was like, let's call Ryan, because he was great. He was absolutely incredible. So
Yeah, for sure, man. Okay, so you got tons and tons of what I would say big names in the scene, right? I think the one that maybe surprised me the most was Joe Mustin. And I gotta imagine that Mason over here almost fell off his seat when I actually haven't talked to Mason about it yet, but like Beloved, I mean, come on, man. Like pulling those guys out and dusting off the cobwebs, that had to have been quite a thing. How'd you pull that off?
well, dude, we toured with Advent, and
Yeah.
one of my favorite, like, Advent is to me one of the greatest Christian hardcore bands in history. Like, they're
Totally.
just my fave. I still rock with them all the time. When we did our final show dates, it was like, we need Advent. And so he's just been a dear friend, and like he's been like an encouragement and like a brother to me. Just personally, I just have a great time being with Joe. Like, he's awesome. He's a good person. And so we just have a history, because years and years ago, when I was in California, I think Beloved toured through Salt Lake, and he got to hang out with a bunch of my friends.
Yeah.
And so he would talk about when Beloved played Salt Lake, and he had a fondness for the scene here. And so it was just an easy relationship to start when we were in kind of Cornerstone days playing with Sleeping Giant. He was with Advent, and we were playing festivals and stuff. I mean, it was just an easy friendship. And so when I asked him, he's a righteous man. That's like how that's like how I feel about him. Like, I just don't feel very good at being like righteous. And I feel like Joey's like he's got like a pure thing. And so when we did the song, I was just like, I just want you to contribute. And so any of the vocalists, I just asked if they weren't me. I was like, I want you to put whatever you can on the song, and I want your expression. And so when we did Celestial, I just asked them, like, if you write what you think, and this is kind of where I'm coming from. And so he did all the yelling parts. That's all him.
Yeah.
And I just got to stand there and try not to cry and just like sing and whatever. And then he would just like go off and be awesome. So if I could, I'd bring him everywhere. Initially, I asked him to be a backup drummer, because we just wanted to have a bunch of musicians in it, just so that no one ever knew who was going to show up. And so I was like, I need you to either drum or I need you to yell, but you need to be a part of this. And he's like, okay. So that was easy. But he's one of the greats, man. He's a good person.
If you were able to get him to drum, you also should have just been like, hey, could you like get that Beloved band back together? Like, more than just like one show here or there. Because if you already have that much influence over him to get him to become your drummer, you should also influence him to get Beloved back together. That'd be nice.
I don't have it, but he's my homie. So he's willing to do me a solid. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool. And then, with Eric, I mean, I love him. He's one of my dearest friends, and we've just been homies forever. So that was really cool to kind of have like a Death Star Sleeping Giant kind of like connect on the record. Thought that was cool. Ryan Clark and me have been homies since we toured together, and I just would call him and like talk about random stuff, and he's just been a cool guy to me since we toured. Anyway, so that was really tight. And then for Dane and I really like him, and I remember we toured with his old band, A Bullet for Pretty Boy, before he was in Nothing Left. And then I always liked the Nothing Left record. And to be honest, a lot of the influences for this came through processing, a lot of grief and loss and stuff like that. And the Nothing Left record, I was getting ready for the big run I did after my brother had passed away. And I remember that there was a few Nothing Left songs that would come through on the playlist. And I just remember feeling like I appreciated the anger and the frustration and the pain of Nothing Left. And so I just called Ryan. I was like, would Dana consider being a part of anything? And so when I talked to Dana, I was like, yo, if you're interested, I would love to have your voice on the thing. And so for him, that was tight. And then for Mike in Convictions,
we love Mike, by the way. We've had him on here. He's one genuine solid guy.
He's really sweet. The last time I saw him, Sleeping Giant played in Germany, and we played Christmas Rock Night in Germany with a bunch of people. And we would just see those guys. And so anyway, so I just thought it'd be really cool to have him on. And I knew that Convictions, in a lot of ways, they were like really staying steady through like a lot of the waves that were going. And I just wanted to be like, hey man, I've never worked with you guys really, but if you'd be interested to yell, I mean, you have an incredible voice, it'd be cool. So that was really awesome, just kind of collaborating with him and putting his vocal parts. You know, he would just send me tracks of him, like what he was doing. I mean, he's incredible. Like, I don't know how some of these, and Brooke Doom, I don't even care. Like, he's just one of my close friends and I've known him forever. So I'm just like, whatever, you're gonna do whatever we do.
You're on.
And he's like, yeah, whatever you want.
You don't have
bro.
a choice.
Yeah, I was like, no, you don't have a choice, dude. Not even a little bit. Like, I don't even care. He's gonna think I'm crazy anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Like, it'll be fine. So anyway, some of these dudes are just so incredible vocally. Everyone's performances were just like, they blow me away. And so I really am nervous and scared and learning how to actually just like sing. And I just really wanted, but there's such intensity. Joe wrote such heavy parts. I was like, this needs extra anger, and I don't have it. So I just like get some BA people to just like jump on that. So it was really, really cool to watch my friends kind of show up. That was awesome.
I feel like I've seen it more often over the last few years, but you're starting to see more hardcore and just heavy bands in general start to like kind of have this collaboration that you see this in hip hop all the time,
That's
right?
That's what I love. All of my favorite hip hop songs are collabs. They're always, I used to get made fun of, like my homies that used to be old dudes that used to be in the band years and years ago in Sleeping Giant. They'd always be like, yeah, you always do this thing where like you get other vocalists to do, like, all of your most popular songs are just you and someone else. And I'm like, yeah,
that's the point.
That's what I want. Like, do you understand? Like, that since the jump of this band, there has been like, there's Brew from Homer Demons and there's Davey Quiggle and there's like it's like, I'm going to get everybody I possibly can on a record, and I'm jam packing this thing full, and I don't care. Like, that's my favorite stuff. It's not about me being like, our band being like, we're just so like elite and we've got this. It's like, dude, it's not for us, it's for all the kids. That's it. And then you're either gonna mosh or you're just gonna be stoked on the parts. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Is most times collabs just make everybody sound awesome. And so
I think
also,
it's good for the scene too, man.
Dude, that's part of the, to me, that's like, it's weird. I remember getting flack almost from people where it's like, do you not understand? And it's because I feel like they just don't understand the hardcore scene, which is like, we don't all have to like agree, but if we have this kind of shared space, we can all work together, and it's an honor for everybody. Like, it's like respect, you know, just like, it's something cool in the culture. And I've seen it as long as I've been growing up in it, which is like, oh, people like, they share the stage together. That's tight. That's really cool. Right. So
I think the greatest example from like Sleeping Giant, for instance, remind me the dude's name from Amir.
Oh, Frankie.
Yeah. You had Frankie on. I mean, and Mir is, I mean, about as far from like what Sleeping Giants content could have been.
Well, you know what's weird is I didn't know this, but like, I guess at a certain point, like 2010, he was a huge Sleeping Giant fan, and I had no clue. And a friend of ours was doing sound and was like, dude, you know, one of the things that he does from time to time before they go out, he'll sit in the lounge by himself and listen to SG before he goes out. And I'm like, he really likes our band. And so that's why we called him, like, would you be interested in being on our record? And he straight flew from Germany to be a part of the video, hung out for like a day in California, like saw some friends or whatever, and then dipped and went back to his tour. Like, he made time to be a part of it. And then he called me and said, I want you to be a part of Amir's next record. And I want you to write a song as if you're trying to see me delivered from like demons and stuff. And I was like,
dang.
Okay, I mean, do you believe in that? Because do you want me to pretend? Because I actually believe in the spiritual realm. Like,
yeah, is this acting or is this legit?
Yeah. And he was just like, no, man, like the record got real dark, and I would just love it if you would kind of like almost pray and like just do your thing. Wow. And so he built a track for me, and I sang and I read scripture and I prayed and I sang for him on this track called Poltergeist, which is on his Slave to the Game record. So he's been super cool to me. But yeah, and I remember people being all weird about it. I'm like, this is like a hardcore thing. I don't even like explain this to you. Like, this is just how it goes. Okay. Like, don't be weirdos about it, you know? So
exactly. I don't understand like that weird, like gatekeepery kind of situation. Cause like Mason and I, we would consider ourselves gatekeepers, but like, that's not what we're gatekeeping. We're gatekeeping good music compared to bad music. Right. Like, if it's good, it's good.
Classic. But yeah, that's what I'd say is like, it's always been a part of my DNA. And even when it was misunderstood or misinterpreted. It was just always part of like, I grew up before I got into heavy music. I loved hip hop. And so
Yeah.
that whole culture of like, I love hearing, even for Death Star, when we would write parts for the four of us, the collaboration and kind of the syncopation of having multiple people. It was like the Beastie Boys or like Run DMC or, just like it just like that's kind of how we wrote. And it was like we just want to hit. So it just carried forward. I think it's awesome. And I'll always do it because that's just who I am. Also, I don't know who's going to be on the come up and be really stoked and who I'm really going to like and who might actually like our project. And it'd be fun to see who kind of shows up in our world. And I think let's just like mash it up and have fun because I don't care
Totally.
anymore. So let's go.
Can I add one person that I think should totally collab in the next HolyName project?
Okay.
It's this guy named Cullen. He's actually an incredible singer.
Whoa.
And so if you want to do like some
Whoa!
fun
It would
like
be
harmony
fun,
stuff,
man. I tell
you
you
want to
what.
do some fun harmony stuff, Cullen's got he's got the setup. He's got a nice mic. He's got a great
Ooh.
voice, I'm telling you.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll put that in the hat, bro. Because we have
There we
like
go.
we have stuff I got asked the other day. Like, what do you guys got going on? And it's like
If you want somebody to do kind of like a Whitney Houston type part,
Always.
that's Cullen.
all the time. That's what I'm saying. That's
Honestly, he's not even joking. Like Whitney Houston's my go-to.
yeah, because Whitney is the goat for
Yeah.
sure.
You know
Always.
what? I could even just drive right on over to Marshall, Minnesota. That's a hop, skip, and a jump for me. I'll go
That's
hang
what
out
I'm
with
saying.
Joey, and we'll
Do that
we'll
with
do-
Joe, and you and Joe could put some stuff together. I'm sure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that'd be awesome.
That'd
There
be
we
so
go.
much fun. I'd be down for it.
Hey, I want to hear a little bit more about just kind of the development of this entire album. We, again, a couple years ago, we chatted with you about kind of the EP, and then there's a couple songs from the EP that have, made it onto this full length. So you guys were already starting, obviously, in that process to write this whole full length. Yeah, I'm just like curious, like how this whole thing developed over these last couple years. I know in the music world now things are just moving a little bit slower than they were in the 2000s, but I'm just curious for you how this whole thing developed. What were some of the things going on in your life that maybe influenced some of the lyrics? What were some of the sounds that maybe you were listening to where you're like, that's the kind of thing I want to hear in this album? So I'm just curious, like kind of that whole development for the sound and the lyrics.
That's a good question. I'll start with the sound, I guess. There was a whole lot of in my head. The sound started because of the way the project started, which, if you guys remember, like it was just meant to be kind of like a collaboration with our whole community of people at Rev, like from all over the country. And if I'm honest, I always loved the sound of more of like I always love when there's more people in the room. I always like when there's a lot of singing going on. I always like when there's a lot of voices. And so I've always wanted to have like a group kind of dynamic. When it's beautiful, I wanted it to be beautiful. I also love the contrast within the hardcore scene of like, I haven't heard it a lot. And I gotta be honest, like there's a few bands that I feel like really sang when it was like heavy music and stuff. And there's like aspects of melody throughout the hardcore scene to me, whether there's like, it's not, Life of Agony is like one of my favorite bands ever. And they're like a New Jersey, and it's like, it's New York style, like it's East Coast hardcore, this absolutely gorgeous singing, or Typo Negative, or even a band like super hardcore band that I loved a lot, a band from the East Coast that was called Death Threat. And it wasn't like he was singing, but he had tone in his voice. So the metal world kind of stuff, like with Gojira, where you hear this like heavy stuff, but his voice is incredible and he's got this like rasp to it. Or
So
even in Comeback Kid, when Andrew just would kind of put some like oomph on the notes he writes. He's one of my favorite people from the whole culture since Figure 4. Like I just really admire all the stuff he does. So in my mind, I've always thought like, I know me, I would really like to just sing, and I don't mind hearing melody over this heavy stuff. And so that was kind of where it started. And then just thinking of like, I just want it to feel like the group is already here. And so that way it gave whoever was going to hear it permission to feel like I can sing along. Wherever my range is, I can just jump in. That's always been the hope with Praise.
Honestly, like all good worship music is like that, right? Where doesn't matter the song, like you pretty much any worship song, even if it's the cheesy ones, they are really written so that anybody can sing to it and sound like
Yeah.
decent singing to it.
Yeah. I have a bunch of homies, like, especially I've got some really dear friends that are in LA that are like singers, and they're like singing. And that is not me. I'm just like a goofy kid that's like, anyways, I'm not good at it, but I love it. I do love it.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of stuff in my head for years. So when we started it, it was like songs that I've had on my phone since 2012 that were just worship songs for me. And that kind of dovetails into the lyrical content, which is like the biggest part of this record for me has been processing all of the mourning and loss that we've had in our life, which is like my little brother died really suddenly in 2018. Chrissy and me had 4 miscarriages over 2 years. In the midst of 2019, in the midst of all of that, my wife's mother, Sherry, passed away from cancer. The same weekend, my uncle Johnny in St. Louis died. Like, then a couple of months later, it felt like we had a little cousin that overdosed in California. And so there was just death everywhere. And where I was as like Tommy from Sleeping Giant was like miracles, signs, and wonders, and let's get it and let's go after it. And every single time we were visited by this horrible stuff, I would try to almost, it's like, we're going to pray and we're going to believe God, and it's like all the stuff that I thought I had been like training for. And we gave the time and the energy to do it. And it just didn't go. Like, and it completely was wild. And so in that process of like, yo, I love, and in the midst of that, another big part of this was like, I've said it before, so like, please forgive me. I'm not trying to, like, I feel like I'm getting asked similar things about the record. And so I want to do right by our time right now. In the midst of losing all of these people to me, like precious people to me, and having the culture tell me, believe like this, pray like this, say it like this, and it's not real. In the midst of that, me and Eric, actually, we were on staff at like a Bible college of sorts, a training kind of thing. And in the midst of this, 2017 into 2018, what was discovered about the leader of that school was that he actually had like massive problems and was essentially grooming women on his female staff, and was like a covert narcissist. And I mean, super demonic, sketchy, whack. And I watched the culture that I was a part of do so much to protect him and the platform at the expense of the people. And they didn't know the whole story. And it was that whole like toxic swirl of like honor and garbage, man, totally garbage. And I, in that moment, there was all this other death breaking out of my life. And so I'm looking at what I thought was a culture that operated under the authority of Jesus, and it was a nightmare. And then I'm having my life blown apart, and I'm going to the Jesus that I knew, and it's not like what anyone is telling me. And so I had to like go back to almost like, maybe I made up some of this stuff. Like, oh my God, like most people would know me as like preacher, evangelist, believer guy. Like, have I just been a hype man for a lie? Like, what is going on? And so I was completely disillusioned and heartbroken by the culture that actually helped make Sleeping Giant. Like everything that helped bring me to where everyone was like, yo, we love your expression of love and your faith, and everything that actually helped nurture some of that is all of a sudden like, I got to get out of here. Like, but I'm not trying to publicly rip down things. And it's like, I don't give, like, forgive me. It's like, I don't give a shit what anyone else is doing. I don't care about the deconstruction thing. I don't care. I'm not impressed by anyone. I don't trust anyone. Like all of you guys, like everybody, like just no, I'm not interested. I got to figure out if I even believe in the origin of what this thing is, or I'm out, because I'm looking for the authority of Jesus, and I can't find it anywhere, because it all feels like popularity and politics. That's all it is. And if that's just meant, the popularity and the politics is meant to protect what to me sort of became like a TED Talk and a talent show, I'm out. I got no business being a part of this because I'm in a band and we can do TED Talk and talent show just as good as that box can. And I'm not, then I don't have to put up with all these like molester creep weirdos. Like if you do that in the scene, they kick the shit out of you at a Flying J and leave you on the side of the road. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather have that. I don't understand why my broken culture in the hardcore scene somehow can see what's going on and the church can't. Like I was just like, yo, I am not like you. And I don't know what to do with that because I'm used to me being the broken, guilty, shame-filled kid. Oh, church, help me. And then I'm looking at the church going, you guys are full of it. And like, you're fake. And I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And it's nobody's business because now I'm dying inside going like, oh my God. And so the journey of letting go, being confronted with death, having my image of Jesus radically shifted. And then looking for where do I trust? What do I do? I had to go all the way back. And to be honest with you, because of our work in the counter trafficking space, some of the bump intos we've had with other versions of Christianity have been horrendous. And victims and survivors of trafficking have been raped and molested by church people. And so I'm like, I got to find out what the heck the point was at the beginning or I'm out. And it was really that serious for me because I felt like I've just wasted all this time. If it's not true, I've literally wasted years. And that's cool because it kept me alive, but I don't just want to do this because it worked. I want it to be true. And I don't know where the Lord is in this. And he's not showing up the way everyone told me he would. And he's not doing things the way that everybody said he should. And my prayers aren't answered. So like, I don't know. And so in going all the way back to the beginning of kind of what was the point at the beginning of the church and then studying historic Christianity, I could go to those places and instead of feeling like trauma in my body when they started their church service and just wanting to get out of there, it was like so not about me that I could just like, I would just watch what was happening. And then there'd be moments where like the presence of Christ would be there. And I would just begin to weep and be like, whoa, like this is not, I can't believe I'm in this place, first off. And then I have no idea how to describe what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing. And like, it blew my mind. So that was kind of the journey into like keeping my faith, rediscovering what was possible in love with the Lord and being healed in grief. And then just celebrating something that felt, it's just my journey, right? Like all I have to do in the scene is like, I'm just going to share my journey with people, like always. And so for whatever reason, because the last few years, there's been this, both Chrissy Green and me, and like, we've been studying the Orthodox Christian faith. And so as we've been like journeying into that stuff just came out in the imagery and in some of the stuff. But in many ways, it's the record's lyrical content reflects the journey of entering into and experiencing death, letting go in some ways of some of this stuff, like confronting some of the abuse that I've experienced. And then ultimately, I think finding healing and kind of like a sense of peace with an understanding of Christianity that's been around since the beginning, and realizing that some of that stuff at the beginning that I had no clue about, it's incredible and it's really beautiful and it's awesome. And I would never have given it the time of day before like everything fell apart. And so I know that the characterization of this is like, Eastern Orthodoxy, and that's cool. It's also the death of my brother and the death of my babies and the loss of my belief, the loss of my faith in the culture that brought me to a certain point, and then rediscovering the beauty of who Jesus is kind of in a different way. That was a lot of sentences too, bro. I'm sorry. That was like a lot of sentences.
That was it was very eloquent. I'll tell you that much.
Trying to like get through it and going like, okay, there's a couple things happening.
So I want to talk about the Eastern Orthodox kind of journey for you?
Okay.
I'm a theology person, so I'm just like I love it. I'm super interested in your perspective of it and your journey in it. But what I want to say is that Cullen and I grew up in a fairly similar world where again, there's a reason why we were listening to Sleeping Giant, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And as I like kind of really became disillusioned with that world, there are theological reasons why I'm still very compelled by Christianity and why I'm still very much a Christian.
Sure.
Historically, I don't want to paint this picture that the early church was like perfect. There was a lot of anti-Semitism and there was a lot of bullshit still going on. But what I do want to say is that if there's any reason why I still think the church still has something of value to offer the world, despite the 2,000 years of bullshit that's happened,
Wow.
I still think it's you got mostly poor people at the very beginning who came together and shared things together. They shared meals together, and they shared this belief in this faith together.
Yeah.
And that enough to me is like, if we just do that, we maybe got something. Like that might be worthwhile to redeem.
Wow.
And even though there's been genocide in the name of Jesus, there has been a lot of other bullshit in the name of Jesus.
Sure.
I still like look back and I'm like, there have been people since the very beginning who are poor and share things together, and they share a faith together. And I think that's worthwhile. Like that to me has been like, if I think that's worthwhile for me to still participate in that world. And so anyway, I find that really interesting because I think I share a similar journey in that way of why I'm still like so much interested and still compelled to be a person who calls himself a follower of Jesus.
I think that's really beautiful. I would say, I feel like I think I get what you're saying. One of the most fascinating parts of maybe reading, right? Because I'm not good at it. I'm not good at this. So I'm like, I don't mind anymore. I'm just like, whatever. But one of the things that I've really appreciated about the early church and the early church fathers and the sacraments, like the ceremony, the rituals of the church. One of my favorite parts has been in like it has stopped me in my tracks. Like both me and Chrissy have been like, whoa, is the belief, right? The practice of the presence of Christ in communion. And so what I like what you're saying is like it's interesting that which I don't have a point. I'm just saying this. Like, I think it's interesting that one of the things that you love the most is that it's people, especially people without an abundance of things, but like it's these poor people and they're sharing a meal with one another, and the beauty of that. And what I love about the early church is that, in my understanding, it's as if the table of the Lord was the point. And so God himself was sharing a meal with us. And then we in turn shared a meal with one another. And I like the sharing, the God that would share of his flesh and blood with people, and then say, like, this is kind of how this whole thing formed.
Yeah.
Like Jesus established the Eucharist and the church formed around that. Very wild.
And may I add, especially early on, it was an actual meal. It wasn't just some dumb little cracker that was gonna, it was almost like celery where it was negative calories.
No, isn't that
it was an
crazy?
actual freaking meal that would fill you up. And if you were that person who was actually hungry, a dumb little cracker is going to do nothing for you, but an actual meal is going to sustain you, even though you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. And for a lot of people, that's why you join this faith, is because it actually physically was going to fill you up, right? And it was going to take you to the next day.
Symbolically full. Yeah, I mean, sure. Be warm and well fed. Absolutely. Yep. See you later, bud. But I really appreciate that. I think that's really cool. I think that it's interesting that the ministry, right? We read about this stuff all the time. It's like the ministry of table sharing. What a big deal that was, regardless. And I like that because I don't think I've ever, up until the last couple of years, I don't think I really cared very much, if I'm really honest, like about what that meant. That like almost like that God would share a table with us. That he it's like he jumped the balcony of heaven and came down. It was like fully filled up life. And part of what he did was he showed us something so beautiful and gave us like in the church, they would say it's like the highest like sacrament is like communion, this beautiful thing called the Eucharist. And it's like profoundly meaningful and deeply mystical and spiritual. And it's like, I didn't think of any of that at all. I didn't give a crap. It's just like,
Right.
no, man, it's all right. You know, like doesn't really matter, whatever. So I love that that's what in just the flesh and blood part of Christianity, that's one of the things that you're like, that has intrinsic value. That is like meaningful top to bottom. And I think that's super cool. I appreciate that.
Even more so, I'll just add really quickly too, like for the Eucharist in particular, one of the cool things is in the Eucharist, you have two things. You have wine and you have bread, both of which are products of fermentation. And the beauty of fermentation is you have death and you have new life at the same time happening, right? Like there's just this like this continuity of death and life happening in the process of fermentation. And that's what we're ingesting in the Eucharist. I think that's just super powerful.
Yeah. It's all that's what I'm saying is like if we just like, that's what I'm saying is like, we're like on this like elementary school level of like a thing that Christians do. And somehow there's depth to this thing that is like so cool. That's the thing where I went like, what was this thing about at the beginning? And there was these simple practices with these profound meanings for actual transformation that I was like, oh my God. Because I felt like in modern church, I don't know what we're doing anymore. Like all the cool kids came and hung out for a while. Like Justin Bieber was here. So what? Like it didn't mean anything. What are we doing? Like we got all the influence. We got on TV. We have great music. It's like, that's not what we want. And when everything fell apart for me and all the death came crashing in, what came out of me was like vile. Like I like try to be like happy, but I was like it was not good. And I went, whoa, I've preached all over the world and I have led like all these people to Christ and there's been all these miracles and all this stuff. I am not holy at all. Like, I don't know if any of that has actually made its way into my inner man. Like, I don't know if I've actually like, oh my God, I am like so immature and so full of like horrific mindsets and really horrible sin. Like, oh my God. And so it was like, I could do all this stuff and I don't know if I've actually been transformed. And I feel like I am a full-on product of a culture that is so busy and so about all of this other stuff. And we neglect what is really supposed to be transformed on the inside so often. And I went, I can't stay alive if my only answer is, well, I just got to pray more. I got to read my Bible more. I got to do this, whatever. I got to go to worship service more. I got to do like all that stuff that we're doing is trying to accomplish something that I swear Jesus had a way to accomplish at the beginning. And I almost felt like it had been lost in the hustle. And so the simplicity of Christian worship was like, it just became really beautiful to me in the sacraments of the early church. And I went, there's enough here to keep me fascinated for the rest of my life. Oh my God. Like, I don't know what I've been doing. Like, what am I been doing? So just to submit that to you is like something as simple as like fermentation, the elements themselves, and what can they represent and all that, like the beauty of these like simple practices. It's been so cool because I started pissed off, got about 5 months in and told Chrissy, like, I'm so traumatized by everything we've gone through. I can't keep pursuing if it's because I'm mad. I can only continue to move forward if it's going to be beautiful. And I want to be healed by beauty. I want the beauty of God to bring healing to my life because I'm sick inside. And that was in that journey. It was like there's beauty here and there's healing here for this like toxic thing that's happening inside of me. And so it's been interesting because it was not what I expected at all.
This whole conversation, I feel like, can be summed up in one meme, and it's this. I don't know if you can see this, but it's these like two like young evangelists that are saying, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a moment to talk about Jesus Christ?" And it's some like Eastern Orthodox guy saying, "Sure, what would you like to know?"
Hey, it's a monk. Hey, it's like a monk sitting with bears, just chilling. Yeah, they talk about the holiness and the peace of Christ, even causing creation to be at peace with some of these holy men And these people, it's like, so then like bears just come and chill. Like they're like
Yeah.
St. Francis, they're just like, what up, bro? Like you seem awesome. So
They're the
yes,
Care Bears.
that's what I
So,
feel like. I feel like there's been a lot of ego, a lot of pride, a lot of performance, and a lot of like, I don't know, just that like the leech says give. It's almost like the ministry ego that just keeps everyone on this like wheel. And behind us 2,000 years ago, there was something that happened that was enough, and it was poignant and it was beautiful. And the practice of that early community, it's almost like it's a hidden treasure to our culture. And I felt like I found a treasure in a field and went, I didn't know this was even a thing. Like I had no idea. And then it was just interesting putting it together. So yes, I love that meme. I definitely am that guy. I'm like one of those like Mormon missionary guys. Like, do you have a moment? And it's like, I'm stumbling into 2,000 years of history, and they're like, dog, we've been here. Like, where have you been? And I'm like, well, I was trying to make the rapture happen or something. I don't know what I was trying to get everyone to prayer meeting. We were going to worship night and day. That was going to make something happen. We were going to fight the Antichrist. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, sorry, do you want to know my theology? And they're like, we got it covered. And I'm like, okay, let me read some of your books, because obviously there's like something different happening here. So it's been beautiful. That's all. It's been a really beautiful journey, and I don't feel as pissed as I was, and that's been really cool.
Can I ask one question? Just human to human.
Yes.
When you hop on that train and it's going to a darker place, right?
Whoa.
Why?
Which train are you talking about?
We're talking about your train. Okay. You've got death, you've got corruption, you've got sickening things going on all around you.
Yeah.
Why not hop off that train in anger? What was it for you that allowed you to keep on going on that train to try to find that peaceful valley, or maybe a more peaceful valley now? Because I think most people, they'd hop off that train and be like, this ride sucks, I'm out.
I can only share like I can only share what happened for me. I feel like I really have experienced, I think, the love of Jesus. I really believe in him. And I've like experienced a lot in my journey with Christ. Like I've felt and seen and I've heard the stories of other people, and even through like the pages of scripture, like I have felt, and it's like that relationship has been a thing. So when everything started falling apart, what was interesting was I remember, ground it in a scripture thing. Remember when Solomon was talking about how he just had a mind that was guiding him with wisdom while he just sinned more just to see if it would work? He's like, yo, I'm doing all this dirt, but my mind, I know what I'm doing. Like, but even though it doesn't look like it, like God is guiding me, even though I'm fully off in the woods. When all the death started breaking in, I remember saying to Chrissy, sitting on our back patio, we would just sit and just cry. Like we're just like, what is happening? And I'm praying, and it's like I'm praying and I don't hear anything and I don't feel anything. But it's like I could see God everywhere. But he wasn't talking to me. And I'd be like, what is I'm like, yo. And I said to Chrissy, sitting in the middle of the silence, just like lost in the grief of it, and I said, we're going to watch what happens. What I said to her was, I made a covenant with the Lord before I ever made one with you. Sorry. And I said, and you made one with him before you ever made one with me. Like we got nowhere to go. Like we know too much to leave. But it feels like abuse. Like it feels like I don't understand what you're doing to me. Like, so I couldn't see, I couldn't feel, and he wasn't talking to me, but I could see it everywhere. And so it was almost like what I thought I knew about God, like disappeared. And I was like in God, even though he was like nowhere. That was my experience of like a year worth of all this death was like, I couldn't get an answer to my prayer, but I was like in him. So I couldn't go anywhere. And my commitment was like, I know you. I swear I know you. And I swear you knew me. You knew me. You rescued me all these years ago. Like, it's not a lie that we have a relationship, but like, what are you doing to me? Like, I didn't understand. So on some level, maybe the mystical, spiritual stuff that we saw, there's something there that you see people that are blind and then they get healed in front of you. Like that marks you a little bit. You pray for someone, you pray for a daughter, like she brings her mom up and her mom has cancer, and you pray for her mom. And then 2 days later, her mom's comes back with like a clean x-ray from her doctor. I've seen God do some stuff. So the fact that my life was just completely effed, I was just like, okay, like you're obviously God and you don't give a shit about what I'm going through then. That's fine. I mean, there's a place. It's like, there's a theology for that. I just didn't think I was like a part of it. I thought for some reason, like that was some other thing that I was like free from, but like you're God, I'm not. So if this is your plan for me, like kind of screw you, but like I can't go anywhere. I love you so much and I know that you love me. I just don't know what's going on. And so what I would say is like the substance of his presence and the substance of God's love kept me even when it was completely silent and everything sucked. I just we have too much for me to just like bail. And I think I by the grace of God, he has done so much in my life that it was like I would have to lie to myself to be like, this is all a lie. But what I realized was I believed a lot of lies in our culture, but he was still real. I just didn't, I felt like, obviously I'm making you up. There's so much of this that's like me just, I have a story about you that's not true. And there's a lot of fools out there that have like a motive to perpetuate that lie. And I thought that's what was real, and it's not real. And so I'm going to let go of that lie, but somehow I can't let go of you and you won't let go of me. So I'm screwed. I just have to ride this out. And I don't know what to say for other people. I was also the male in this. Like my wife grieved the loss of our babies differently than I did. My wife didn't grieve the closure of that church and all the conflict around that. She didn't feel that part like I did. So we were in totally different spots. And I don't know what other people go through. I'm a pretty ride or die dude. And so it literally probably took a whole lot of stuff to break me out of my own, to get me out of my own way sometimes too. I don't know. It's just like by the grace of God, I got set free from a lot of religious baggage and bullshit that I don't think is true anymore. And I love so much. So I'm just like, yo, like whatever people are doing, but like I was believing things that I think weren't true. And I was suffering under the illusion of certain things that just I needed to let go of. But I believe in Christ, and I believe that he's the king, and I believe in these. It's like I was still there. So I'm sorry, dude. It's like a dark night or something. Like I don't know how to describe it, because I think there's all these wonderful, intelligent, beautiful people, even in the Rev community, people from all over the country and all over the world, and some of them have completely. They've just moved into different areas. Some of them have left completely. Some of them have moved into different parts of the body of Christ. Some of them have made different things. And it's like, I don't know what to say. I'm blown away that I've become seemingly as like religious as I am, because I was like, this was never the plan. Never, ever, ever. What the hell is going on? So anyway, so that's what I'd say, bro. I hope that sometime, somewhere, someone goes, I kind of get what he's saying, or maybe it'll offer help for someone. But
sure,
you know, that and $6 might get someone a haircut. I don't know. I'm not sure. It'll be fine.
I think it was succinctly put. You know,
Okay.
It's your experience, man. I dig it. Well, let's shift gears completely. All right.
Okay.
top 5 greatest guilty pleasures
Oh God.
of Tommy Green.
I like the 1991 movie Cool as Ice, starring Vanilla Ice. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. That one's great.
Is this your way of saying that you love Ice Ice Baby as the song?
No, I don't really care about Ice Ice Baby at all. But that movie is incredible. Like it's just it's so bad. Like you just watch it. And his dialogue is so bad. It's awesome. He's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. His name is like Johnny too. Like it's so
Johnny. The only thing that make him more bad is if he was Tommy.
Dude, that'd be awesome. Listen, he rides bullet bikes with a bunch of dudes. Hey, not for nothing. He was a great dancer. Like that was crazy. I watched the thing. I'm like, yo, that dude could move. I pulled Chrissy Green in the other day. I was like, watch this guy. He really could dance. Like, dang, that's a real bummer that he got like torpedoed the way that he did because this movie sucks. Anyways, it's awesome.
Have you ever seen his show? This was a while ago. I don't know, probably like 2012 or so. He like adopted himself into the Amish community for a while, and like
I never saw that one. I watched
like,
his construction ones. Yeah. I watched when he builds houses. I think it's awesome. Super funny. But I'm also a real estate guy, so I just like that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like this dude's doing all these cool projects, and I don't like his taste at all. But like I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I like his little angel guy at the bottom of a pool. I think that's cool. But then some of the stuff he does, I'm like, man, that's Florida. I'm not a Florida guy. Like in terms of the aesthetic, like beach, I don't get it. I'm like,
I don't get that either.
But yeah, I like his show. I never saw him with the Amish though.
Yeah. There was one like where he was doing like one of those construction shows, but he was doing it with the Amish. So like
dude,
no
that's
power
tight.
tools or anything like that. It was cool.
I don't envy that. I suck at all of this. Like Chrissy Green is a gangster at like fixing things. I'm just like, please let me just swipe the card and then like the dude will do it. And I don't want to do it. Like it's going to take me 9 hours to do what someone could do in like 45 minutes. Okay. Please don't make me do that. So anyways, so yeah, I think that's awesome. That's a guilty pleasure is the 1991 classic Cool as Ice movie. Guilty pleasure music. I don't know all of it. All of it's bad. I have no idea. I gotta like look through it. Dang it. This is like music? Like bad music?
Yeah, generally music.
Oh my God.
We'll give you a pass on Cool as Ice because, you know, it's music related, you know.
No, keep it. Keep it. It's fine. That's really bad. It's very bad.
No, we're keeping that for sure.
Guilty pleasure. Dude, I don't know, you guys. I'm so bad at this. All of my stuff sucks. It's all dumb. What have I played lately? I don't know. What's a guilty pleasure? I really like that crazy. It's like bad rap, dude. I just listen to like the most. Anyways, but it's not even like that cool. I like Suicide Boys a lot.
That is 100% a guilty pleasure.
Is it? Oh, okay, cool. Okay,
100%.
maybe I'm in the right neighborhood. Okay, I like the Suicide Boys, dude. Some of that stuff's wild when I'm working out. That's pretty tight. I like. I don't know, you guys. I'm so sorry.
You're
guilty
good,
pleasure, something that makes me feel bad when I listen to it, but I love it. I don't know. It's probably in the hip hop world. You know, there's a dude named Skinny who's this like LA based, like he's kind of a Saudi rapper guy, and he's 100% a vibe. And I listen to him all the time. And he's awesome. Deftones, I love Deftones.
Deftones.
How is that guilty pleasure?
Well, because I feel like you're either in or you're out. People either love them or hate them. So
that's true.
I'm trying to find something. Okay, you guys, like I'm just trying to figure it out.
I'm a huge Deftones fan, so I'll just.
I am not. I would say that's borderline guilty pleasure.
Good, great, thank you. Was that 3? I'm just trying to fill out the list. Hold on.
They're so good.
Their reputation has changed so much in the last like 3 years. Because for a long time there, everyone was like, "Wow, you like Deftones, huh? Cool." But now everyone's like, "Deftones, yeah." It's like, how did that change so quickly?
I've always thought that they were so awesome. Since I was in high school, I was just like, actually late junior high when I saw them at Warped Tour. I think in 1993 93. Anyways, in Seattle. But so I've just liked them for a long time. But yeah, they went through like a whole thing. I don't know what's in their guilty pleasure, guys. Help me. I love tough guy hardcore.
There's got to be like a pop song that's just like got your ear.
I think right now Turnstile might be that. It's like turning into stuff. Like I love the new Turnstile record.
Yeah, Turnstile's far from a guilty pleasure. That's like.
Are you sure? Because a bunch of my
like
friends
the
are
edge
like,
of
that
cool.
stuff is so stupid, so stupid. And I'm like, it's okay. Like I really like it. I think they write good hooks. I'm sorry. Like I think they're incredible, and I will totally bop to all of it.
Oh,
like
100%.
here's a great pop song that I love that Cullen and everybody else would make fun of me for, but I love "Drops of Jupiter" by
Oh my gosh.
Train.
Mason, are you serious?
Such a good song.
Drops of Jupiter.
Oh my God, Drops of Jupiter is so good.
I don't know what that is. I don't know. What is Drops of Jupiter?
That's like. Do you want to sing it, Cullen? Show off that voice.
I'm trying to remember how like the chorus goes. Something in the atmosphere, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the rest, but it's like that's just goofing.
What's something guilty pleasure, dude? Oh, I don't know. I gotta give shout outs to Chrissy Green. Chrissy Green loves T Swift. Chrissy Green is a Swiftie. 100%.
Okay, we're gonna take Chrissy Green's T Swift. We'll
Thank
take
you.
that. Yep.
Okay.
You got one more, man. One more.
No, I thought that was. Oh man. Shut up. Okay, hold on.
There's got to be some like butt rock that you've dug. Some active rock, right? No, not at all.
My homie Davey right now is playing keys and like backup singing for Five Finger Death Punch, and I went to that show to see Davey because a bunch of my business partners really like Five Finger Death Punch, and like I don't care. I don't care. Like I don't care either way.
Dude, yeah.
I think it's awesome. It's like
Tommy,
all right, man,
we've had like the most hipster of hipster people on here, and even they have had guiltier pleasures than
I don't
so
know
far.
what a guilty pleasure is, obviously, because I'm like, don't care. Like I'm 42. I'm 42. Who cares what I listen to? They don't care. They're like, whatever. What's a guilty pleasure? Suicide Boys, dude. I just have stellar taste, you guys. I don't really have.
I guess so.
I mean, only listen to cool stuff.
I swerve on all the stupid stuff that you guys listen to that you think is guilty. Like I just don't care. I'm too busy listening to like random goth rap and like death trap projects from my friends, and then writing praise and worship to the Most High God. That's all I do. That's all I do, guys.
How about this? How about one worship artist that you like a worship artist that you would hear in like a typical
Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Stephen Curtis Chapman, or like Chris Tomlin, or something like that. There's got to be one of those. You're like, I kind of dig that.
Dude, you know who I was listening to in my top 22 of. I was listening to this dude Jonathan McReynolds and this guy Molly.
Okay.
Molly Music. They have a song called Miracle. They're just dope, and it's like these two. Anyways, but that's kind of worshipy. What's been my worship thing, dude? I really liked. I liked quite a few of the Maverick City videos. I thought those were awesome. Like,
and that counts. What do you think, Mason?
Yeah.
Can that count, please?
Yeah,
like,
that counts.
We'll count
that
it.
Dude, I watched these videos and I was like, man, that's tight. That song Refiner with that Stephanie girl, and they're all crazy. It's super good.
Yeah, I think that counts.
There it is.
Yeah, you're on the board. You're on the board.
I always expect more from our heavy music artists, because I do feel like the drummer for
what about
Zayao,
Drake? Can I say Drake is
100%. That's like knocking it out of the
100%.
Hey, and his stupid Forever 21 record that's like all techno. Love it.
Oh yes.
Huge fan. There it is. Yeah, dude, for sure. I was like, oh,
that's
great.
That's almost like that's like 5 artists in one. Drake counts. That is so guilty pleasure.
Drake is like the god tier golden boy of guilty pleasures.
Love it. Huge fan.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
Shout out Drizzy. What's up?
Degrassi. That's what I remember him from.
I was gonna say the drummer for Zayao. I mean, he had like Neil Diamond and ABBA and like every like 70s like yacht rock band.
Everyone should rock with ABBA. None of these things are guilty. You're like Neil Diamond,
totally
great. ABBA, great.
Yeah.
What else?
So like the thought process with ABBA, because I'm a big fan. I think that ABBA is like the great uniter. They're like Fleetwood Mac in that regard, right? Like everyone likes Fleetwood Mac. Everyone has to like ABBA. It's like a law.
bro.
So I think, but like ABBA, if you're like a metal artist, it's like one of those things where it's like, wait, you actually listen to ABBA? It's
Oh,
like,
dude, yeah, I would. Yeah, let me borrow half of his list. Probably that sounds great. Neil Diamond's great. ABBA, great. Like so hooky. Those dudes are super smart. That's like the
Yeah.
Bee Gees. I'll rock the Bee Gees. Is that?
yeah,
yeah.
the Bee Gees, that's
Come
a
on, bro. They
solid,
can write
solid guilty pleasure.
hooks, man. They got the harmonies and everything going. Man,
Oh
that's-
yeah.
This is how we get people
Okay,
actually
thank you, man. I'm like,
disclosing
give
their
me some
guilty
help
pleasure.
here.
You just start mentioning artists, and they're like, "Oh yeah, shit, they're so
Yeah,
good."
this is why it's coming up now because I don't feel guilty at all. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's no
that's
guilt.
not. It's not about if you feel guilty. It's about if other people will try to make you feel guilty.
Yes.
No,
that's the,
because I have
exactly
dope
right.
friends. We like good things. All of my friends like cool things. So I don't have anyone that's like lame going like, hey, God. It's like, no, man, we're just too busy being dope. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. Rocking ABBA and then Neil Diamond. And then we show up to the gym and it's like Maxo Cream and Knocked Loose. We kill it, dude. Our whole thing is just like awesome all the time.
Cullen unironically loves Creed, and like I will make fun of Cullen for that, but it
That's
doesn't
fine.
mean that he like actually feels guilty about it. But it
Right.
will mean that I will make fun of him for it.
Yeah.
Me and the dudes from Sleeping Giant ended up at Scott Stapp's birthday party.
What?
Super wild. We were at a Christian
There
festival.
has to be a story here.
Dude, it's so good.
What is the
So
story?
Laz, who used to sing in the band Leaders and play
Yeah.
guitar in Those Who Fear, and then filled in for SG, and now is helping in HolyName. He's actually like part of our crew.
Yeah.
He loves Scott Stapp. Like loved Scott Stapp. I didn't know this. I had no clue. So we go to some like Christian festival on the East Coast, and as a special guest at the festival, Scott Stapp is there, and he's supposed to perform. And I think this is like a really weird time in his life or something
Yeah.
weird. I don't know. But I walk up to him and his wife. Laz is standing behind me, and I go, "Hey Scott, how you doing, man? I'm Tommy. I'm in a band called Sleeping Giant." He goes, "Hey, nice to meet you." I was like, "Hey man, have you met Laz?" And just walked away. Laz was just like so starstruck. It was awesome. So good. So then later that day, we're just in the cafeteria at the fest, like eating food. And then all of a sudden, like the doors open and all these people come in, and it's a private birthday party for Scott Stapp.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
they start singing, they've got a cake, all stuff, and it's like me and Laz and Nelson like looking at like this, we're like 3 tables over, going like, "Whoa, this is wild." And then his wife's like, "Oh, you guys come over and have cake." So we like totally came and had cake for Scott Stapp's birthday party. He probably will never remember that.
That is
I do though,
so
because it
cool.
was awesome. So I have a Scott Stapp memory, and it was me having birthday cake with him.
That is so cool. I feel like we have so many Scott Stapp stories on here.
Dude,
This is
he's
crazy.
probably a bit of an anomaly. I bet that dude. He seems wild. He seems
He's
like
an
a wild
enigma,
character.
100%.
So
I love it. All right, Tommy, what would you like to plug? You're a leading man in a movie. Your
Yeah.
wife has a book coming out. You got
Yes.
a brand new album.
yes.
You got a bunch of really great old stuff. You got Tommy Runs Against Traffic. Give us the whole spiel. You got 20 minutes.
go to runagainsttraffic.com. I runagainsttraffic.com and support our counter trafficking and aftercare initiative. We're trying to raise a bunch of money this year and get money to good guys. So yay. Chrissy Green finished her book, and that book, we're right now dealing with all the publishing and the editing and all that stuff like that. So keep a lookout for the kind of the story, the origin story of Run Against Traffic, written by the illustrious, the beautiful, the fantastic Chrissy Green. That is going to be dope. And then my dear friend Eric Gregson from Sleeping Giant and Death Star and Cast in Stone, if you go back that far, he wrote and
Wait,
directed.
I didn't know he was in Casting Stones.
Yeah, dude, he was.
Are you serious?
Dude, he's like old school. Anyway, so
That's awesome.
so okay. He wrote and directed a movie called Dark Arrows. It's been in production for the last like 18 to 24 months with the lockdown and all the weird stuff and everything. And hopefully that movie will be coming out either by the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. It's called Dark Arrows. Check it out. I hope that you guys get time at some point to have him on, because the story of how he wrote it and how it all came together and all that stuff is like fantastic. I asked to be an extra in the movie, and I asked if I could just die. That was what I wanted. My high aspirations in movies. I wanted to be the dude that's like, "This is for the kids," and then it's like blown out of a window or something. Like that was what I wanted to do. Like if I could just die in a movie, that was like, I did it. And so when I was doing the big run, I remember asking my uncle, who studied film at UCLA, I was telling him about how, hey, Eric's got this project he's working on, this script, and I think he's gonna make a movie, man. Super crazy. And we were just talking it up. And then I was telling him about it a little bit. And then months later, they called me and asked me if I would read for a part. And so I read for a part, and then I did it, and I didn't care. I'm at my coffee table reading these lines, my kids interrupting, like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, it's for Uncle Eric. He doesn't care, like, whatever. So like I do this horrible read, and then I send it to him, and I've never done this before. And then he called me back a couple days later. He's like, yeah, send it to the producer. We like sat and listened to you read. It was a good read. We want you to be part of the movie. And I was like, oh, for real? And he goes, we want you to be the lead. And I was like, no. So that was just, I didn't want to ruin his movie. And he basically put his whole life on the line for this thing. And so he's like, I really think you can do it. And I was like, I don't think I can. And so back and forth. And then eventually he was like, I think you should do it. And honestly, truly, if my little brother, I think if Connor Green hadn't passed away, I don't know if I would have actually taken him up on it. I think in the wake of that, I was like, Connor Green would be pumped if I did this. I should do this thing. I think that'd be cool. So we did that, and then we filmed this full feature movie, and I think it's going to be really, really cool. And it's a cool story. And Eric Gregson is a gangster. He's the dude. So Dark Arrows, IRunAgainstTraffic.com. Chrissy Green's book, and she's going to be awesome. I'm not going to give the title yet. And no, so HolyName just flew to Chicago, and we just filmed our first show. And so we're going to be streaming. Our first show is HolyName, I believe, on February 17th. And that's going to be a live stream event all over the world. So please help us and come see the show.
Sick.
We're trying to just like put that out. So we just did all that. It was super cool. I think it's going to be a really cool performance. And I had a great time. It was wild. And really, really cool. So February 17th, I believe, HolyName's first performance. Stream it worldwide. Thank you.
Cannot
Love
wait.
it.
It's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
It's gonna be super tight. That's all the promotion, right? That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Okay.
did it,
Nailed
man.
I did the thing. All right, tight.
Tommy, I'm so grateful for you, your heart, your faith, your music. Everything
thanks,
that you
man.
do in the world is incredible. And I'm just super grateful. You've just
thanks.
been such a dear friend to Cullen and I. You've been just so great. And Cullen and I 10, 15 years ago, listening to Sleeping Giant, never in a million years would we been able to think to ourselves, oh, Tommy Green's a friend of ours. And now I feel like at this point, 3 times on this podcast, you're a friend of ours. And it's just super cool. Yeah, it's super cool to think that.
Awesome.
So,
Well,
hopefully
God
the
bless you
feeling's
guys.
mutual. Hopefully that
Yeah,
friendship feeling is mutual. But
Thanks.
that's how Cullen and I feel. It's super
So
cool. It just means the world to us. Coming from small town South Dakota, we didn't know anybody, and we're just listening to music like yours, and all of a sudden now we're just hanging out with people like you, and it's just like,
That's
what
exactly
the hell?
how it always
This is
goes.
so weird.
Yeah, I was just some freaking nerd from the Bay Area and St. Louis every summer, and all of a sudden now I get to be in a movie. I think that's how it works. I think it's just we're just goofy little people, and God just goes I see that, let's do stuff,
Yeah. Have fun.
think about it all the time. So yeah,
Anyway.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a ton, Tommy. You're the best.
Rise